Okay. His presentation. So, the general idea, looking for motion graphics, but in a sort of showreely style. We'll have some sort of narrative to tie it all together, but it's going to be showing lots of different styles of motion graphics. Pretty much if I was to go to a company and be like, I can do motion graphics for you, I want to show as many different styles they can sort of choose from and be like, oh, they can do this style, I can do this style, and then I want to tie them all together somehow. I also have a number of skill sets that I want to develop upon. Most importantly, I want to learn Illustrator, as it seems to be the sort of industry standard for marketing tools in terms of graphic design, animation assets, and 2D and motion graphics. So I want to get really good with Illustrator, number one. Most of my animation is probably going to be done in After Effects, because again, it seems to be what people are using in sort of marketing world that I seem to be going into. And also, I would quite like to have a go at Cinema 4D, just because it's been recommended to me by people who know what I'm talking about, but also because people I have talked to also use it. So in terms of the industry, there's also a few other ones such as Maya Mash, and stick with those two for now. I've done Maya Mash before, don't like it too much, but we'll see if we get into Cinema 4D. But for now, I want to see as many different styles as possible. Styles of motion graphics, which I think are both doable for my skill set, as well as interesting, and also desirable in the whole realm of corporate marketing. I guess any sort of marketing, but corporate for now. And to do that, I'm pretty much just going to have a look at showreel type motion graphics, possibly a few websites or company showreels. Motion graphic showreel. Now, I've just spotted something there. Okay, instantly, one thing that I've been doing this year is animating to music, and that just seems to be a very succinct way to keep things interesting. I will be having to look at different ways to do that, because I don't know whether to get something made. I could get something made for me. I could just pay for licensing for something. There's a number of different ways you could do it. But I think music is going to play a massive role in making this both entertaining, and let's say professional looking, but more just keeping it flowing. Seeing as I'm going to be hopefully jumping between different animation styles and different motion graphic styles, I think having it all tied together with music will really help, especially if it's like this, edited to the beat. I've actually accidentally clicked on a video that seems to be exactly what I'm hoping to do in terms of showing off lots of different motion graphic styles. What is it? Showreel Team 8 tutorial. Yeah, so this is a showreel that this company's done, obviously. But this is the sort of idea that I'm going for. That's also a big thing there, just back of slide. This sort of isometric style, that's something that I've been using a lot in the past year in the company I'm working for. The isometric to 2D, well, 2D 2.5D isometrics. Animating in that style could be a lot of utility in it. Makes things pretty cool. It's all very interesting though as well. One thing about this one is there's not a lot of transitions, a lot of smooth. I haven't got smooth transitions between the two different like animation styles. I'm probably going to add that into my thing for now, just so I can save it and actually have it to come back to. Okay, let's keep looking, shall we? Motion graphics show. Sound. Sound is very important. Yeah. Ooh, that's clever. Ooh, yeah. I quite like how they're using the videos, obviously showing the music's playing. It's like playing along with the music, so the music could tie it together in more ways than just a song in the background edited to the beat. If you're actually, well, that's very, very, very clever. Say there's an element in each skit or each sketch that is interacting with the music. So this one's like a little tape, but then it could be like a record player in the next one. There could be a band in a different one. That's quite nice, actually. I quite like that. Music. Music. You can see why I'm doing a vlog instead of doing a blog, because I can't type. Scene is another musical instrument. No, is another musical projection. No, that's not a real word. Each scene's key item plays music. Recording again. Interaction music. Each scene's key item is something that plays music. I am going to. Okay. Another wee thing. The interaction of actual film assets. Addition of. Yeah, that's something I want to try and use if I can. I haven't really learned how to do it yet, but adding in actual film things to the motion graphics and having them interact, either having small motion graphics interact with full filmed scenes, or having, blocked out, say, a walk cycle of a person interacting with a fully 2D scene or something like that. I would quite like to do it as just one of my styles if possible. I realize it could be quite a lot of work, so it might not be the longest section, but something I want to try. Nice transitions like that are cool. This one doesn't seem as well tied together as the last one, to be honest with you, in terms of the music's just there, but every scene looks like another separate YouTube intro, as opposed to the last one that I felt was a bit more succinct. But I like assets of this, I like parts of it, ideas from it anyway, but it's all a bit basic, I think. And it's just a bit more 3D. Very 3D. What was this made in? Don't know. Oh, that's nice. See, that's quite cool the way he's made something look very... Has he designed that asset and then dissolved it? Or has he drawn that frame by frame? It's quite cool though. Don't know how I've done that. A lot more basic stuff, but cool. That's awesome. What have you used? Cinema 4D. Hot 4D? No, what's hot? Right. There's a plugin for Cinema 4D. All a bit maybe out of my league for learning how to do this in the next couple of weeks, but that looks like a MASH simulation. A bit more 2D stuff. I've seen that done before a million times. Quite basic stuff is good to have in there. Whew. There's a breakdown of it. Cinema 4D. That's cool. Ooh. Quite like, let's see what those. This sort of thing. It looks like a rendered environment rather than a filmed environment, but I think I could do it filmed environment as well if I wanted to. Like, yeah, quite like that. Just gonna add that on the general one. And that sort of thing there. Be car driving along, that's all very doable. But I mean, asset design in Illustrator, and then pretty easy to animate and stuff. There's nothing really that complicated about that, just shapes moving along. Nothing's moving. I mean, those wheels don't have to spin. Those rotors don't have to spin, I don't think. No, it just floats. It's all just shapes moving along. But I mean, for quick pumping out animations, that's exactly what people want to see in terms of corporate marketing. Just quick, but I could do those really quickly and really easily, so if I just got really good at them and made them quite aesthetically pleasing, then that would be good for an aspect of it. It's quite a nice new transition. Just going through doors. Yeah, just going through buildings and windows and doors and stuff. It's quite a natural transition. And that's very nice. Don't know if you can do it in 2D, but it's cool. Again, easy shapes. This is the sort of stuff I've done before. All just Illustrator files, just simple rigs. Again, easy style. I can specify this with After Effects more. Strange having real cars in that. Oh, that's nice. So that sort of transition is quite awesome. Just having like a fluid shape, developing a person, changes scenes, and then that could develop into something bigger. See, that's all very much the style that sounds quite simple, but that's a really good example of it all, so I might just add this in as well, to be honest. Okay. It's all hand drawn. That's very nice. That's really... Wow. Yeah, I've just been rewatching this, not this, next bit. This. I think that's just so damn cool. Don't quite know how they do it so slick, but it just seems to be shapes popping out of shapes. Maybe all done in just all these like really intricate little transitions. No idea. But that's something I really like, because that's the really basic style of just shapes coming out of shapes and stuff like that, but done really, really, really well. The birds and everything. There's a little bit of movement, even if you see like these drawing themselves. Don't know how they've done that. I guess it could just be that every shape just has a like a visibility thing on it, and then it slowly, or it, one after the other, just reveals Even if you work backwards, I guess you could just work them backwards. I don't know. It's cool though. Isometric 2.5D. That's really pretty. It looks like it's done in. Looks like it's done in 3D. Can't really tell. Nah, it's definitely done in 3D. Some noise and stuff like that in the lighting, but it's really pretty. Ooh. See, I think that is that the sort of thing I could do in Cinema 4D. But ooh, really pretty. Definitely more 3D, but I like that. Really, really, really like how this person does all these sort of slick reveals of everything. Oof. I can't tell if this is nice transitions or if they're just so many transitions that it just like doesn't stop being interesting just because there's so many things happening. That's really pretty. Oh, that was really pretty. And there's another clock. That is so cool. Yeah, that's being saved for sure. Ah, I've seen this before now. Infinite zoom. So I was sort of thinking with the going through doors and going through windows and stuff like that, but see how it's actually done. Oof. No, that's cool. How nuts is that? That's doable as well. That's very doable. Just frame after frame. You could even just draw you panning down like a cityscape and then just draw loads of different characters, and it just has such a cool effect. I don't know how well this infinite zoom thing works, just jumping between styles. Like if you opened up a door and it was a different style, would it be really jarring or not? Oh, well that's sort of what I was thinking. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That one made me feel quite sick. There's the 2.5 like isometric going into a flat. That is clever. I like that. Ooh. So, using these mad 3D assets. It's quite cool though. Yeah, this hasn't really been filmed. This is more just really high def or really high quality 3D renders of the products, which obviously looks awesome, but a bit mad. This has kind of stepped it up a level. Is this doable? I love that. That's so cool. There's nothing really moving there. That's just clever. That was cool. That's given a lot of different styles of 2D. Don't know how many of them are traditional and how many of them are like motion graphics. Is that I can't tell if that's like that it looks like his shape, but then his facial expressions are really. Could it be a combination of both? Oh, either way, it looks pretty doable. Just, oh, I like that. That's really cool. think I've got a lot of good examples of both sort of 2D and 3D at this point. To be honest with you, I'd probably stay away from as much sort of traditional stuff as possible. Really basic. There's that same effect they used to fill the text. Story idea. Narrative development. Is it narrative development? It's more infinite zoom. I think that is a very good place to start in terms of transitions. Obviously you can get a bit more creative with it all, but going from scene to scene through infinite zoom, through doorways, through things like that seems quite cool in that one. I don't know how well it'll work if it's changing, because a lot of people aren't really doing that. That was just, this one was when it, that was like this style stops and it goes to a different one and zooms into something. But I don't know how well it will look if you're changing styles, so I'm going to keep that there for now. But that'll probably take a bit of playing around with. Windows. Oh, you can have just fluid things. Like, yeah, well, I'll type in fluids. As in fluid shapes sort of transforming and then blending into the next scene and all that sort of stuff. Obviously that becomes a bit more in the way of traditional, but can be quite clean. Keep that there for now. This is all very clean. All the transitions in this are clean. Yeah, you see the way they link that, like. Just bang into the next scene. Into the phone. Swipes. And it's gonna probably zoom into this phone, is it? Yeah, there we go. Very clever. This is isometric style, which I'll probably want to include for sure. Animated, yeah. So this is jumping between different styles as well, which is good to see. Yeah, that's great. That's done really well to the music. It's not necessarily like edited to the beat or anything like that, but on key sort of climaxes of the music it moves really well, so that was a bloody good example. I think I've definitely collected enough sort of examples. Okay, I think what I'm going to do now is fire these videos into Premiere, if I can download them, and then put GIFs of my like highlight parts into this presentation so I can talk about them more specifically. Yeah. Right, let's go for a new slide and go styles, I guess. Stylization exploration. I'm going to start with 2D styles. Okay. I got all the videos downloaded. I want to get them all, well, not all of them, I'm going to take 2D assets and 3D assets or styles. Things that I want to try and do into these, and then I want to look at the transitions specifically. There's different ways to do it. Okay, let's get Premiere up, shall we? Okay, so what I've done is I went into Premiere, took all the videos and cut them up and sort of grouped them by what they are, whether like just 2D styles, um, 2.5D styles, and then I went into like the different transitions and just cut out parts of all those videos that I had up the top, and these two. So what I'll show you is what's going on really. So yeah, you can see here these are like corporate 2D styles. All probably the more basic stuff, but just call out to those. In the middle we've got stylized 2D with some really pretty, the ones I was looking at, like the pop-up style I think I would call them. And then on the end there's like a general sort of lettering, almost like YouTube intros and text generation and stuff like that, because you can use these whether they're corporate or stylized. You can, you know, design them as required. At the bottom here there's some nice like visual effects ones, like lighting. I've added that with Cup in, but I don't really know how to do these yet. I don't know whether it'll be 2D, 3D or whatever, but I quite like all these like lighting effects and having words come in as well, so I quite like the idea of that. Then move on to 2.5D, so yeah, you got your corporate, like your isometrics here on the left hand side. Again, you can do quite a lot with them. These are the sort of things that I'd be working in. You can just design them in Illustrator and put them all in and get them to move. There is some like 3D aspect to this, which is why I'm sort of weary as to how exactly I do it, because I'm sure I could probably do it in After Effects 3D view, but I'll need to have a better look into that. But that's 2.5D style. And then there's a stylized 2.5D, so you got your like interactions with the real world. You've got your I don't even know how to do that. But then you got your like your human interaction, stuff like that. But the music scene I think could be quite cool. I don't know what's the best way to do that. It could be a case of rotoscoping with some assets, like these assets on the left and right hand side could be um, designed in Illustrator, and then the rest could be rotoscoped in the same sort of style. Could be really, really, really cool, maybe for a short sequence, but I would really like to explore that a bit more. Then move on to sort of 3D or Cinema 4D and Mesh integrations. I'd probably use these relatively sparingly. I'm thinking maybe more for transitions and stuff like that, but I quite like the idea of having this lettering in a 3D environment, if that's possible, because I'm sure I can make them in Mesh and Cinema 4D and integrate them into a 2D scene or a filmed scene relatively easily. But I quite like them as an idea of a transition, at least for these generate or the sort of generated these sort of things here, if I can use those. Then moving on to transition exploration, I was talking about earlier, the sort of infinite loops in 2D and 2.5D, but there's loads of different ways. I'll have to think of good ways to do this. I'll have to explore the best ways to do these. The bottom right one is a really good example of jumping between various styles. So you get your 3D there, and you go back to your 2D graphics, 3D, then your flat 2D. Again, I think I talked about this earlier, but 2D, the 2.5D, and yeah, so I think that's a really good example of moving between all the three different styles. And yeah, that's the end of that. I'm going to have to go through and add in notes and stuff like that. And develop out the whole story idea. And maybe explore, well, I'll have to do like a timeline and a rough estimate of how long I want to be working on Illustrator, but that will come next. Okay, so I'm going to be working on the presentation mainly today. Going to take notes for each slide, and then probably just as a rough script. Okay, so examples of
Design, styles, editing style, sound. I haven't really mentioned sound too much, but I know that I want a similar style. So what I mean by that is, like, the way in classical music they use the music itself to sort of tell a story rather than the visual aspect of it telling the story. So I have a bit more freedom in the visuals, but the music can just tie it all together a little better. And then there's a timeline. Asset list. Well, I don't know my asset list yet. So I'm sort of thinking here in terms of, well, focus. I mean, I had a few ideas in my head, such as, marketing myself. So marketing my particular experience and skill set. So, like I'll market a fictional product. So just sort of invent a product and then market it. Either marketing something. Because then even if the style keeps changing, if there's an underlying theme, that might just make it a bit nicer. I could have one consistent character, that'd be quite fun. It's like the Family Guy, the multiverse episodes. Yeah, something like that. Okay, just been tidying up the presentation a bit, adding in some notes in each slide, get rid of all the ones I'm not needing, reorganize them a bit. So it'll go straight to the focus, and then I'll talk about sort of what skill sets I'll need, and then I can go in to start researching styles. I'm going to keep this one at the end, just because it doesn't really tie in anywhere else, to be honest. But yes, I think I'm going to add in, actually, I was going to add in Edgar Wright, because Edgar Wright's the most sort of well-known person that does this sort of editing, but I don't want to just straight up use what the other presentation did from the examples, even though I was already thinking that. Yeah, I think I'm going to try and make a timeline now. A lot of my timeline will most likely be time to learn and experiment with those different styles, as opposed to just jumping into pre-productions. Okay. Yeah, so I'm thinking the majority of this next few months is going to be learning and experimenting with different styles, things I haven't really done too much of it before. And then once I'm starting to get a rough idea of what can be done, what can't be done in the timescales, then I'll have a better idea to start my storyboarding using, what I've learned. So that's where the thinking is behind this strange looking timeline. And hopefully by this sort of period, I'll have storyboard finished. I'll have a good sort of plethora of different designs and experiments, and I can start blocking out in a sort of pre-dev stage in the rough block out before Christmas. And then obviously I'll have the dissertation to do for mid-December, so that'll probably become a focus quite quickly, but yeah, I'm happy enough with that. So Okay. So I've got down at the bottom of, as my notes, that I'm going to be committing a lot of time to experimentation and learning, which I think is fair enough. Yeah, I think I'm sort of ready to make some notes and then do the presentation, I guess.